brain surgery. And the guy...
Are you saying that you should have to have brain surgery before you can run for president of the United States?
You gotta let me...
Okay, no. I don't have to let you finish. Let's stay on topic. The topic is person.
I'm pretty sure them boys they know that his. I told you that like second time. You really finna follow her to do that, bro? Wow, fuck is you?
Always, yeah. You just decline that song.
What?
They call them something.
Catch a picker.
Listen to that shit, Greggy.
The Fish, page 30, by Crowley. It expounded, expanded, emphasized it with eloquence and ardor for nearly 10 minutes. As I left the bottomless pit story, I jumped in my mind like a jack-in-the-box. I had no thought of it since the night I heard it. It shouted at me, it distracted my mind from its many serious problems, it spoke my dinner at Scott's. It played jokes on me. I began to murmur oysters, ophthalmia, lobsters, leprosy, cod, consummation, sole, scrofula, turbo, TB, mackerel, meningitis, and so on for all the fish I could think of. And then who should walk into the grill room but my friend of the ship? He didn't see me. He came in as if the devil were after him, grabbed a chair and a menu, snapped an order, and put his nose to a notebook. His coffee came at the same time as mine did. He relaxed, lifted his eyes, saw me, and charged me like a bull at a gate. "You're my man," he cried. "Fate's in it. What a damned unbelievable square mile of A1 luck. Glad you're glad. I was going to set every sleuth in London on your trail tomorrow morning. Rude to ask why? Remember that yarn of the bottomless pit there? I started. I see you do. Well, it's true, and I'm chasing around London buying equipment. And I need a quack who knows tropical diseases and won't jabber around the campfire. Well, there was no room for me in London. My mission was annoyed with me about one of my converts, a trifle. All of us do it. Damn interference, I walked out. I had my own little income, but not enough. I really wanted to know leprosy. My health was better. £500 and all expenses paid for a year certain in a new country with a man I liked. When do we start? He shook my hand. Good, 6 weeks from now, if the arrow's ready in time. The arrow? Only way to find that old BP natives wouldn't come. Ground evidently bad going, even for camels. The air gives us a clear big radius. We can build relay camps, or tout à la joie. We had no hitch of any kind. Lyle, that's his name. B. Lyle, B for Beale. And letters of recommendation from, he said, a boss bishop and a baronial brewer. My frivolous friends say I must be out to introduce beer and Bibles. But so busy were we, both of us, that we were at sea before he found time to tell me what further facts I had turned his gossamer yarn into a veil worth lifting. It was simple enough. At the Travellers' Club he had met an old friend just back from Abyssinia itself. He had gone deep into the country. A singular event had occurred at a village called Nitty Ock. A man had gone mad, mutilated himself horribly, and fallen on all fours. The writhing with pain, he interspersed his shrieks with pitiful wails whose words contradicted his gestures and his tones. For they expressed pride and pleasure and turned insane exaggeration. He wallowed abjectly and reproached and threatened the villagers for maintaining their erect attitude. He flinched, whining from all offers to help him, and snarled and spat at his own children and wives when they approached him. Presently he slunk away, still on all fours over the desert, The headman of the village restrained his family when they would have followed him. So singular did the explorer consider this episode that he inquired strictly into the matter. The man's disease was called G-Tuz, which means heart leprosy, or perhaps from within leprosy, because the bodily symptoms follow the mental. They say it is caused by eating a poisonous fish, which they call Nazarene. The cure is to eat raw lion's heart, but the victim can rarely bear to approach it. The venom of the serpent Nahash is an absolute antitoxin, and its bite is a certain and immediate cure. Bull's blood is good, but needs persistence for a prolonged period. The touch of a young child gives temporary relief in some cases, but rarely attacks the disease. As in morphinism, the patient's will to be cured is an important factor in the treatment. The tincture of the roots of the oak they call Elima is tonic and specific. Flagellation with gorse, briar rose assists the cure. So does massage with either the golden oil extracted from the purple poppy or the sweet white oil that is sweated from red rosebuds or peonies. Moss held to the nose defends the patient from his own fetid breath. A diet of peaches or apples cleanses the blood. If chewed thoroughly and constantly, even in public, Sodom apples are the best variety. A decoction of orchids is much recommended, drunk either pure or with peach juice or apple juice. Others prescribe a banana on an empty stomach every night. Others again honey in the comb, macerated with milk. A third school orders oysters or mussels with white wine, but these are slow and only too often merely palliative. The drastic remedies are sure and swift, if the patient can endure them and is willing to risk kill or cure measures. Also, he is hard to convince that he is sick and suffering. He does everything by opposites. For example, he ransacked his folk or the immodesty of the retire. For example, he ransacked his folk for the immodesty of the retire. His tribes dress as decently as archdeacons. Covers every inch of his head and body and limbs, save only just those parts which our archdeacons ever said, being surprised in the mutinal tub, would first claim the attention of the archidiaconal sense of propriety. Again, they denounce the most obvious truths as being lies. Thus they deny that the sun is hot. For how can so petty a thing affect so great a thing as themselves? Also, conversely, they welcome lies, however ridiculous, as truth, most especially when the lies flatter them, tell them light shines from them, and that the sun reflects it as the moon actually mirrors the sun's. They will tolerate and patronize you, but if you approach, may bite you in the leg without provocation or warning. The most curious fact about this disease is that people find it. They do not say get or acquire or take or catch it. But only find it, accept it, or believe in it. This last phrase suggesting some local brand of Christian Science. All three verbs imply the free will of the person to become deceased. He eats the fish sometimes, the headman explained by a congenital perversity of taste. Cretinous, scrofulous, luetic, imbecile, impotent, physical, and anemic, people often find the fish, as it were, naturally. To these people it is not so poisonous. Indeed, they often thrive on a daily diet of it, making their living by selling it, and are at least justified in boasting that they are cured of the diseases subjectively, for they take pride in the increase of their symptoms. This man at Nitiok, case in point, bragged of his distressed heart, that it was palpitating with happiness. Many find jitsutzi in a mild form at puberty, unless the general health be very bad, and the constitution tainted. They cannot assimilate the fish. The fumes of its putrefaction usually produce a sort of intoxication in which they caricature the disease with its symptoms visibly exaggerated and obviously faked. They take matters very seriously until the effects of the gas wear off. Such an attack protects almost always against the disease itself. In the decline of the reproductive powers, people hanker for the fish, which, despite the experience of centuries, is still by the vast majority held as is specific for all ills from poverty and ugliness to death and danger from ghosts. At the decline of the reproductive powers, people hanker for the fish, which, despite the experience of centuries, is still by the vast majority held as a specific for all ills from poverty and ugliness, death and danger from ghosts. This is because of the brilliant organization of the wealthy fisheries, their suave, smooth salesmen, the plausible publicity staff, and the work in the lobbies to force the fish on the people. Even those who vomit at the smell, being supposed to buy it, though they fling it instantly among their other garbage. But these all find it as a desperate clutch at a straw as they drown in the dark seas of despair. Such when women become bitter when too thin, and maudlin when too fat. The men, if fat, become sensualists and prosers. If thin, viragos and tyrants. But unless the people find the fish early in life and digest it completely, the symptoms are not so intolerable to the friends and neighbors of the patient. There is an epidemic form of the sickness which attacks crowds, but this is a mere simulation, transitory as other drunkenness. A few days, at most nearly all are well again. The disease attacks and holds most fiercely those who lack vital power, courage. Fear is the exciting cause in most of those cases which turn out badly. The man at Nitiok was pronounced hopeless by the head man. He has mutilated himself. He goes on all fours and eats dirt, they said. It is bad. He must go to Kriz Nadum. That is the name of the place, they explained latter, where the other heart lepers live. Cree means bottom, Z means without, and nudum hole in all bottomless pit. Lyle's friend asked for the location of this place, but everybody manifested a reluctance to talk. How would the sick man get there? Easy, filthily easy, they told him. One only has to follow the stench. Lyle knew he could reach Nitty Ock without much trouble. If the sick man could crawl thence to the pit, he could be sure of his goal. To make surer he would take an aeroplane with him. 3 months, 3 days after leaving Suez, we were camped just outside Nitty Ock. This is The Fish, written by Crowley. What Lyle wanted. I forgot to mention that Lyle and I joined the ship at Marseille, where we found on board our taxidermist, a little Sussex man, green, and a young old man who looked halfway between a stockbroker and a pawnbroker, shaped from a retired pugilist. His name was Moses Thornley, and it was impossible to imagine what use he could be in our expedition, or what earthly considerations could tear such a man away from his evident preoccupations with property, ponies, and petticoats. I never met a man who looked so coarse and unscrupulous. Yet many an ambassador might have envied him his reticence, many a captain of industry, his air of responsibility carried with ease and confidence. At Port Said Ali bin Daoud, a dragoman with a little staff of assistants to look after our cooking, transport and service generally, met us at our hotel, for at Port Said we had to change into a coaster. We suffered no more than the usual oriental delays, the usual losses and breakages by theft or carelessness, the usual half-hearted threats of mutiny and palpably fake stories of family distress, with which one or the other of the native servants worried us when we wanted a night out beyond his means. The Red Sea was as stagnant and close as the canal itself. The ship was black with flies. At every wretched pretense at the port, we shipped new passengers, each time wilder and dirtier, jostling more excitedly and shouting more ferociously, finally losing themselves more suddenly in the crepitating mob of their fellow travellers. We had so hurried. I started the bulk of my preparation for my bacteriology, and to be done on the ship, so that I hardly saw Lyle, except at meals, when he never spoke except to pass the butter. Any spare time I put in wondering why so imperturbable a man should have started on so pointless a journey in such desperate haste. I'm fairly imaginative, many thanks to my lonely years in China, and I furnished myself with many a balloonful of explanations. But there was a leak in all of them, and that leak answered to the name of Moses. That ineffably tailored Sphinx behaved like a polite stranger. He shook hands with Lyle at Marseille, compared physiological notes, and exchanged meteorological observations. The Fish by Crowley, page 37. I doubt if they spoke again at our first dinner in camp, when for the first time we all four dined together. Moses had dined at the purser's table and made an old friend of him in 5 minutes. We had been with the captain. Moses had lured 3 Anglo Indians from bridge to solo whist, and whenever they were not eating they were playing. Even at the dinner party in camp, the Hebrew retained his aloofness in a way that would have honored to Brahman, and my wonder grew on me like a boil. I thought too that Lyle owed me some explanation of our plans, but I was not the man to ask him. However, on the 4th night he trotted in at sunset with a baby gazelle on his shoulder. He had gone out strolling alone for an hour, this invertebrate habit, ready for anything like the gun in the advertisement, from a snipe to a tiger. He got almost physically drunk on that gazelle, and when I remarked how good it was, he almost chanted, "I am back in Africa once more." It sounded like a school song, and 15 of his 50 years had gone from his face at the thought. It reminded me of the sea unwrinkling itself after a storm. His dull grey, cloudy eyes cleared, flashed, and laughed. The same image served. The incident seemed to break down his taciturnity. For the first time in my experience, he told a story at the table. It was a story of his early days, how he was chased by a gazelle. He had lost his rifle beyond recovery, and a wounded lion was looking for him everywhere, and it was getting dark, and he started back to camp. When he heard feet in pursuit, he ran like the wind and emerged from the jungle to his camp in the clearing. 20 yards behind him came a gazelle, who had possibly been equally scared of the lion, and possibly thought the flying man was its mother. It did not stop here. After our coffee, he suggested that we smoke our pipes in the moonlight. Thornley, by the way, had his cigar about a foot long, so pipes couldn't mean him. We went out to the top of a little heap of bare grey rock. I had noticed it before dinner. It suggested no particular form, but there was something about it indescribably evil. It was like a pimple on the great green slopes. To my medical mind, I suppose the idea of a cancer presented itself. "Know any geology?" said Lyle. "Scraps," I said. "Nothing systematic. I can tell chalk from old red sandstone and granite from schist, but not much more. I'm putting my foot on this rock symbolically," said Lyle. It was once a splinter, tall, sharp, clean cut, a landmark for miles around, a finger thrust up from the earth, but its own inherent rottenness has crumbled it. As it has fallen, it has crushed the life and fertility out of the earth around it, and every shower of rain washes from it a poisonous salt. See what a wide brown circle of death it has made. We don't know how far its putrefaction may spread, killing the life and beauty of the earth, and not even taking thereby any advantage to itself. He made a sort of snarling noise as he stopped short. Then he put his hands on my shoulder. "Harrington," he spoke very seriously, "I liked you from the first. I liked your quiet ways, your contempt for humbug, your sense of humor. You have a brain and a heart hidden away somewhere. Environment has buried them pretty deep. God help you, but Africa may cure you. I think I've given you the chance of your life. You're on the trail of a new disease. Your query is abominable and terrible. That means fame and fortune if you can turn its tide. That's why you came out. But why did I come? And who is our inscrutable Moses? You've been dying to talk, and you've had sense enough to keep your mouth shut. But I can tell you now I'm not a doctor, but I know more medicine than you think, perhaps, especially about the brain and nerves. And I've studied every kind of poison. I needn't tell you that a new disease may count its dead by millions before you can organize any adequate defense. Think what the silly little bug of influenza did, and still is doing in the teeth of science. It might at any moment develop a more virulent form and run up another century or so before we got its wicket. The day after I heard that story at the club, I went round to Masters, the pathologist, and he sent for Bouton, the bacteriologist at St. Michael's, and our best diagnostician, Bartlett. We talked for over 6 hours, and then we cabled Johns Hopkins, as well as Rome, Paris, Vienna, and Berlin. A fortnight later, we sat in conference, some 20 of us. The danger about this bug is that it doesn't kill these heart lepers, as we may as well continue to call them. Till someone rummages in Lionel and Scott for a longer and sillier name. The people have lived and bred for close on 2,000 years. Apparently it isn't infectious or contagious, except indirectly, by a man who indulges in the rotten fish, inducing another to poison himself. But the world's waking up now. Suppose these trusts that run the fisheries, with their own government and God knows with what obscure international influences behind them, should start to make a market in civilization. It seems unlikely, being so localized for so long, but if it did get loose, who knows what might happen. Once in another climate, it might become infectious, even epidemic. The whole fabric of civilization might be swept away in a decade. Art, literature, science, philosophy, nay, manhood, and sanity themselves might be flung pell-mell into one huge plague pit of the earth. Well, to my story, we resolved to send a medical commission. We needed funds. We put the case before our government. None of them understood what we were talking about. We went to bankers, some of them philanthropists, who give thousands away to hospitals every year. They inquired with most acute intelligence into the symptoms of the new disease. They exchanged covert glances. They said they would give us the decision the next morning. They did. It amazed me. They would send out me to find the place, one doctor, to report on the alleged disease. Note the word alleged. And a man to represent their own interests in the matter. That is the mission of Moses. In plain English, they want to see which way the cat jumps, whether the spread of the disease would help or hinder them in their game of piling up pieces of paper with fancy figures painted on them. It is a fair sample of humanity. After all this civilization in progress, and our friend Ali seems to me a long sight better stuff. He broke off and spat. There was a silence between us for quite a long while. I finished my pipe and knocked out the ashes on my boot. He broke off and spat. There was a silence between us for quite a long while. I finished my pipe and knocked out the ashes on my boot. Lyle, I said slowly, I don't yet see why you should want to go, if that's the story. The cat's out of the bag, he replied. They would have sent Moses with someone else. I must match my wits against his. He's good as solo whist. I watched him, but I once beat Blackburn and I twice beat Pillsbury at chess. This is going to be chess. I'll cure these lepers, or make sure of their continued segregation, and I'll go for the cause, and wipe this rotten fish from the pools of the earth. It can only live in stagnant water, so they say. It's amazing that civilization has never yet secured a specimen. We'll find one, I nodded. There's another thing, said he. The more violent the toxin, the stronger the antitoxin generated in its midst. You know that. I'm just hoping that there may be some born in this bottomless pit of theirs who have refused to taste their fish, or happen to be immune to its poison. Such children might react against the environment with tremendous force, and be as much above the average human being as the others are beneath it. We ought to rescue those. Oh, there are wonderful possibilities. Let's get back to camp.
Name the 3 stages of a thunderstorm.
Beginning, middle, and end.
Close.
Is there an anvil stage?
No, I don't think so. I think it's something like forming, mature, and dissipating.
Alright, kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of what I said. No, it would actually be hilarious to just go through like METAR examples and try to get people to guess them, because they are nutty. I mean, this, you gotta think, this was
not that nutty.
This was where
really
you
complicated.
had to read it like through like a ticker tape or something like that.
Yeah, you still have to be able to do this. I mean, you can. It's open book, so if you know where to look things up, you can look them up. But the problem is that FICON, that's a note, by the way, is not listed in the FAR.
So it's not even well. That's probably why they use that one as an example.
No, they didn't use it as an example. This was just from my scenario. This was actually a real notum from my.
Oh, this is a real life notum.
Yeah,
it wasn't like. Because I remember my examiner came with some paper, like stuff. He had like some old like facts, weather maps and stuff, and he pulled it out. He's like, "You ever seen one of these?" I'm like, "No, not in real life." He's like, "Yeah, you'll probably never see one again." But stuff. But he would ask me like, "What does this symbol mean? What does this symbol mean?" But he was very flexible. He was like, he didn't expect me to know everything. Like he was pretty good that way. I felt like my exam was almost like a lesson. Like it was a very kind of a learning experience in a way.
mine was as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he was failing me, but he continued to educate me, like, beyond the failure. He took some time and kind of gave me a class where he did it. Even though I got pretty early.
I did really well in the oral. My written grade wasn't awesome, and because I remember him saying like, "Oh, you know this stuff. Like I don't know why you didn't score better on your written or something like that. I don't remember why either, actually. But I don't think it was bad. I passed, but I think they give a report on like this the type of questions you missed or something like that. So the examiner can ask you those at least those subject matters. I guess it was a long time ago, so I don't really remember that well. But I remember him commenting like, "Oh, you know this stuff." At the time, I did. Yeah, if I look for this stuff, I can recognize broken and like some of the stuff, but it's pretty obscure. Drizzle, snowflakes, snow grains, ice crystals, all these. The Inuits have nothing on this. We don't really know which races.
In fact, I think the only non-Jew down there, including all of the Anons, is Kevin.
Oh God. That was so funny, and I actually truly was laughing so much about. I don't know, if I find something, even if it's politically incorrect, if I find it funny, I will just laugh, and that's kind of a flaw that I have.
Welcome back, Roya Jun.
Yes, Roya Yun. Oh, Dan says, I was out. Did I get a date? It depends, Dan. How old are you?
You won't say.
Is he in Germany?
Sorry, you were talking to me?
I'm not gonna lie, but Miraz
No,
kind of looks like my father.
Oh, thanks.
Who looks like your
It's funny to me because my father definitely wasn't Persian.
Well, maybe he actually was.
No, my father was fully a German Jew.
Maybe you were.
Okay, there is something my father never explained that is a complete mystery to the entire family, that we have some quarter Russian blood, so maybe...
No, he's not Russian. He's from Africa. North Africa.
Sorry.
Well, if it's Russian Jew, it's the same.
Yeah, that's what we don't know. He never talked about that, and we don't know where it went from who.
Your dad.
You look like your dad, my dad, so your son might be very handsome like me.
Thanks. I don't know that.
You have sons?
Me, I don't.
Well, actually, your eyes are very similar to Jeff's eyes.
Well, maybe we are related.
Is Jeff
Could be.
his son? Maybe
No,
it's your lost
I would most likely be the father in this situation.
No, because Meraz, you're in your 40s.
But he looks like my dad, which is weird.
40s. So they
I
could be
wouldn't assume he's in his 40s. I would assume late 30s.
Thank you.
No, he's in his 40s. He said he was 17 in 2000 something.
2000.
Oh, you did the math.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me feel easy.
That's funny, bro.
I still have time.
Well, did you miss the part where the average IQ in her country is 47?
Did you do the math on that?